As the new year of 1984 approached Abjika, somewhere in the northern regions of Insania, a new heir was put up to rule the desert kingdom of Dunistan after the death of King Tariq al-Grani, where Prince Amir took his father's throne. For a while, Dunistan wasn't really a developed nation, where corruption in the monarchy held them down from any developments. Throughout his lifetime, Amir was obsessed with industrialization and wanted to drastically modernize his nation, and so his first orders as king. He developed a 5-year plan where Dunistan will industrialize rapidly to catch up with other modernized nations. Due to this ambitious project, several famines occur after a few months into this plan, as Dunistan didn't really have any agricultural industries and the nation heavily relies on its fishing industries for its food supply, which it couldn't meet the demands quickly enough, and so 20,000 objects starved to death during this period. Due to these great famines, in June 24, 1984, many Dunic objects rioted across several major urban centers, in which Amir responded by sending its military to brutally suppress the crowd, killing and injuring over 200 people, showing to its objects that Amir will be ruling with an iron fist, warning that he'll do anything to get his way into finishing his plans. On the 25th of February 1986, Amir decided to cut all ties in oil trade with Numbria, Yanilla, and in Amenria, with the oil being instead used the help with the industrialization of Dunistan, causing major oil shortages across the Insanian continent. Because of the oil crisis and surprised that Amir immediately cutting ties with them without warning, in Amenria along with Numbria and Yanilla attempted to negotiate with Amir to restart their trade for oil, even willing to pay double the price for the oil reserves. But despite the negotiation attempts, Amir still refused to back down, stating that the industrialization of the nation is far more important. Months went by as the oil shortages are getting worse and negotiations with Amir were going absolutely nowhere. The nations were getting desperate and decided to threaten to go to war by sending an ultimatum to Dunistan to reactivate oil trades with them within 24 hours or they will invade. Despite being outmatched and outgunned, with Dunistan using incredibly old Amenrian equipment, Amir still wouldn't budge, and as the ultimatum expired, on the 12th of May 1986, the North Insanian Conflict commences. After the nations declared war on Dunistan, they then formed the Trade Coalition in hopes of working together to help invade Dunistan, and hours after the declaration of war, Amenrian aircraft soon flew over to the Dunic airspace, bombing and destroying key infrastructures, including military and air bases within the nation, catching Dunistan by surprise and crippling their air force within 2 days, gaining coalition forces air superiority over the nation. In retaliation, the Dunic army launched artillery barrages around its neighboring foes, which, due to the guns being old and poorly aimed, most of the shells never hit their targets, only injuring a few hundred objects and killing at least 5. For the next few months, the conflict became an artillery duel where both sides played catch with artillery pieces. It wouldn't be until the 5th of September, when the actual ground invasion starts as coalition forces steamrolled through the south and eastern borders of Dunistan, easily crushing the under-equipped and outdated Dunic soldiers, seizing the villages of Fahad and Latush. Furious, Amir immediately ordered a hasty offensive to take back the villages, although it had no strategic value. This offensive quickly failed as the coalition easily pushed back the large but ill-prepared Dunic attack force, where on the first day, the coalition had inflicted over 40,000 casualties on Dunic forces while only suffering less than 100. As the Dunic army were vastly outmatched by the superior coalition forces, they began to fortify their lines, which slowed down progress in the Dunic front, as coalition ground troops struggled to break through the entrenched Dunic tanks and heavy armor. And so, on the 29th of September Amenria launched Operation Coyote Strike, where they sent their tank divisions in to break through Dunic heavy armor. On this day, major tank battles between Amenria and Dunistan erupted, where, although outnumbered from 1 to 6, due to better logistics and strategy, Amenria came out victorious, where their armored divisions single-handedly destroyed over 800 Dunic tanks while only suffering little to none. This battle also single-handedly crippled Dunistan's armored units, where coalition forces faced little to no armored resistance after, allowing them to push further into Dunic territory. By the month of October, 1986, as the majority of the Dunic forces were either wiped out or surrendered, coalition forces began to push closer to the Dunic capital of Al-Kashire, in which Amir ordered his remaining loyal regiments to fight to the death within the city. By the time the coalition entered into the city in the 13th of October, this was where they encountered brutal urban fighting, as Dunic forces ambushed them in civilian buildings and homes while wearing civilian clothing to confuse coalition soldiers. Because they were almost indistinguishable to normal citizens, this led to coalition forces killing many innocent civilians within the city, which gave them an incredibly bad reputation by the press and increasing anti-war movements nationwide throughout the coalition. The infamous battle lasted from the 13th of October 1986, all the way until the 8th of January 1987, when coalition forces fully captured the capital city from Dunic hands. After the major defeat in the Battle of Al-Kashire, Amir along with the army began to retreat to the western side of the country on the 9th of January, destroying and setting fire to their oil fields on their way, both in order to cover their paths and to destroy useful resources for the coalition. Because of this, large thick clouds of smoke covered the skies of Dunistan, where it could be even seen from Nembria's capital city of Nembla. These oil fires would cause major environmental impacts within Dunistan's ecosystems, and it wouldn't be until the late December of 1988 when the last burning oil fields would be put out. Although the oil fires had slowed down coalition movements a bit due to the smoke hindering navigational devices, coalition forces began pushing the now weakened Dunic army and squeezing them to their western regions. It was then on the 23rd of February 1987, coalition forces pinned the Dunics into a months-long siege at Bishara, where a long bombardment on the city commenced. The coalition finally broke the siege on the 3rd of August as they managed to enter into the city, where the remaining Dunic forces surrendered en masse due to low morale and hunger. However, Amir was nowhere to be seen in the city, assumed to have fled during the siege. After this, a massive search for Amir commences throughout the nation, even putting a $20 million bounty on him so the locals could give out information about his whereabouts. After 6 months in searching, and from a captured object with relations with Amir, coalition forces finally found him hiding in a small hideout in the middle of a rural isolated village. He was later transported to an Armenian embassy in Al-Kashire, where he was forced to sign an unconditional surrender, marking the end of the 2-year-long conflict on 12 February 1988. After the war, Amir with those who were close to him were charged for crimes against object kind and was locked up in an Armenian maximum security prison before later getting executed in 13 March, 1990. Oil trade continues with Dunistan, with their prices cutting almost a quarter of their original price to coalition nations, and the monarchy was later replaced with a new democratic government. The conflict left the nation in an even worse state than before. Doesn't help that the new Dunic government was not much help in its rebuilding efforts, rather focusing on rebuilding oil wells and production plants than housing and services, leading to the cycle of corruption within the nation all over again. Well, there you have it, my portrayal of a modern conflict in my OSC alternate universe. I apologize that this video took so long to make, as school life hadn't been very smooth for me with all these exams. I am about to enter my final years as a senior, so I have to prepare for that. Anyways, thanks for watching and see you in the next lore video.